Hello there, Carm 3D on the tube, right next to you. And today this is a video for my students, for my rigging students, and we're going to cover FK-IK switching and some other things that are related to it. So this is the rig as we've last seen it with some minor changes. We got this purple bone sticking out here. Whatever this is for, I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. I'll tell you later. And I did make one other change that I forgot about when I was telling you about this splitting up the bone here. What I did was I had this last bone is 100% of whatever this thing is doing as far as twisting goes. That way the wrist bones line up with this guy, so there's no twisting right here. It should all be pretty much synchronous throughout this whole region. So the twisting happens from here to here across these three bones. Oh, sorry, across these two bones in this case, but it can be as many as you want. Anyway, I got this little red table here, and I'm going to have my guy walk up to it and put his hand on it. Note that I am beginning the animation on frame 10 because I keep all of my default pose stuff on frame 0 just in case I want to do some surgery on the rig. So I keep everything where it was originally. And on frame 10 I will push him back here. Now, in my graph editor, I set up a custom set here, right there. These are all the channels related to his arm. This thing, but I'm going to explain later, his upper arm. If it's scoot this over. Unfortunately, I can't make this window any wider, which is kind of lame. So his upper arm, I'll just show you in here. It's a little easier. Okay. So this guy, he rotates on the pitch and heading only, and that's supposed to be turned off. This guy rotates on the bank only. That's that twisting thing that I covered in an earlier video. Here's his elbow. He rotates only on the pitch. And these guys are automated. This is also automated. And of course this one follows the goal controller. But those keys are in there just in case I want to use them. Maybe if I want to animate the control from following that goal's orientation to manually animating, but most of the time I just leave it so it orients with the goal and stays that way. Okay, so let's put this guy in position. First thing I'm going to do is go to this channel, the FK-IK blending thing, and just to show you in the control panel for you Lightwave guys, it's right here. You hit the envelope button and it will create an envelope that you can organize any way you see fit. So when it's at 0, it is completely controlled by the goal, the IK, inverse kinematics. And if it's 100%, like I'm going to do right now, it will be forward kinematics, FK, manual control. And you can see his arm is not trying to reach the goal anymore. It went back to its normal state. And I'm going to grab this upper arm bone here and turn him down. And uh-oh, it won't let me do it. And I'll tell you why, because it's something that's really lame with Lightwave. You cannot, when you have IK, FK switching in your chain, you cannot animate these guys unless you turn auto key on, which I don't like to do. I guess that one will do. No, all channels. There we go. Now I could put his arm down at his side, like he's just going to be walking and swinging his arm naturally. But here's a problem. Even if I turn on the bank ring, which is right there, the purple one, I don't have a natural control for having his upper arm swing as he's walking. Nobody's lined up that way. So we turn him back off. That's what this guy's for. The clavicle branches off to this bone, and then the arm branches off of this bone. This is the arm swing bone, as you can see right here. So I take this one and I rotate it only on the bank so I can animate a swinging arm very easily. Of course, the only thing you want to watch out for is if he's going to point his arm up or move his arm up in any way instead of just relaxing down. You know, like if he's going to point up at the sky and say, "Look, a plane." No, it's Superman. You would want to animate this from wherever it is to the 0 position as he's raising it. That way it doesn't further wonkize your controls further down the chain of command. Okie dokie. So let's start with this guy. I'm going to go to frame, I don't know, 50. Why not? And move him forward. I'm not going to animate his other limbs, just his left arm, just for the interest of time and laziness. And this is the Z channel. I'm just going to make this, I'll make him slow to a stop. And I'll make that linear, and do this thing there. There. So it's going to be basically at the beginning of the animation. He'll just start as if he's always been walking, but then he'll slow down at the end. Okay. Whoops. Yeah, if I go back to here, that's 0. We don't want to mess with that. So one thing I could do is set that first frame to 10 so that I can't go back there anymore. Unless I really want to, then I'll just change the number again. So let's put that down a little further. I'm going to grab this control here and kind of rotate this. Actually, I'm going to move this closer to the hand so I can see what I'm doing. Another thing I'm going to do is turn off these motion paths because they're just distracting, and they do slow things down sometimes. Grab this bone here, rotate it like that. Yeah, there we go. That's a pretty good walking pose. So we'll go forward a bit. Maybe it's more like running. That's okay. I picked the wrong bone. Undo. I want the swinger. Now here I have run smack dab into more gimbal lock, and this is an excellent reason for that extra ring, the wrist ring that I added that I showed you in another video. I cannot make his hand swing with his arm unless I rotate it like so. Now his controller is lined up so that I can swing his arm around, but of course his hand is facing the wrong direction, so I just pick this wrist guy and put him back. And now I could do this. Could do a little bit of this too. Okay, I want to push forward a little more. Rotate this guy again back here. Let me grab my controller and bring it a little closer to the action. Everything looks good. Let's go forward a little more. It's going to look really dumb, but it's just for example's sake. His arm's looking a little close to the vest. Just bring that back a little bit. And we'll have him put his hand on the table right about here. Let's have him raise it up a little bit more, add a little flourish to it. Okay, and then I'll have him do touchdown here. So we'll say from frame 46 to 56, we will transition from FK to IK. Let's pull up our graph editor. I'm going to control right click to duplicate that frame, put one on 46. And this guy gets put down to 0. And I'm going to put a little tension on both of these guys just to smooth the route. And so 56, okay, of course he cannot physically reach it. I could move this closer. I'm just going to grab everything after frame 10. And I might even move the whole Z sequence forward a little bit. And oops. I want to make some keyframes for these guys. And then have him bend his back down a little bit, so that way he can easily reach his goal. Normally I would use a controller for his spine, but I'm just going to pick a bunch of his bones and animate him en masse. Okay, so 56. I think we can move his controller over here a little bit more. That looks good. Now, I didn't put bones in his fingers, so I can't make him put his hand flat on the table, but we'll get close. His fingers are going to sink into the table a little bit. Or I could move the table back. Let's do that. Just because we can. Cool. These arms look a little rough there. I think that's just because subdivisions are not turned on. So let's see how this looks. Set a keyframe for that on frame 0. Whoops. Oh, that was awkward as could be. This bone looks good over here, but over here not so much. Oh, I know why that is. Because of the dip. It is all spline smoothed out. That should look a little better. Okay, the controller is let's move the controller a little closer to where he is on that last time we are doing the FK stuff. That's a little better. There's a little bit of a wobble there, but that might have to do with this. What if I tell these guys to be linear? There, and any wobble after that will certainly be because of this spline smoothing action going on here with these channels, like this thing here. So now that he's locked on there, I'll set a keyframe here and a keyframe here and move this guy forward a little bit and down. And set another keyframe on the frame 85. What he's doing I don't really know, but aside from demonstrating, he's demonstrating the hell out of this table. with his IK control. There we go. Swing, swing, swing. IK. Alright, now let me show you some other tricks here. We can now see how easy it is to swing his arm with the IK controls and the swinging bone that I put right here. But let's get a little more natural motion going on here, because this, let me tell this guy to stay centered, this is hardly natural. There's no sense of weight with his arm. So let me pull up my graph editor and my arm controller keys. This is the elbow control here. And move these around so we can see them both at one time. Okay. So he's going to bring his arm forward, and then it flows back here. But what we should be doing is delaying this keyframe a little bit, and that will give us a better sense of weight. Watch what happens when I push this forward. A couple frames. And I'm also going to change the tension on this, because, let me zoom in closer here. You can see there's a hump. The peak is actually after this keyframe because it's going from all over there. So I'm going to tell this to have a tension of 1, so it kind of forces it to be centered. Now let's take a look at it. That didn't make much difference, did it? Let me look at this again. Let's push this up more. And maybe a little further ahead in time. There. Oh, I missed it. Yeah, it's better, but there's room for improvement. Let's push this one forward too. That might be what's messing up my feel of this. I think I pushed this forward too much. Yeah, I think that's better. Of course, the only thing now is his hand controller needs to compensate for that as well. So let's check these out here. I think that his hand would flop up to about right there. Let's find all my hand controllers and move them right there. And then move him over here so I can see. Put it even further up just to exaggerate it a little bit. His hand flopping around like a happy floppy hand. Right about there is the next flop. Push these keys over. Yeah. Right about here will be the next one, which would be these keys. And I'm going to further enhance the angle there. I'm going to change the angle here. I want this to be like something like that, right about there. Which means these keys can go bye-bye. There, let's see how that works. That's pretty good. It could use more refining, but I think this video is long enough and it gets the point across. I will make one final preview and play it for you in real time via the editor. And that's it. I'll see you next time.